Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's DAF, Bava Kamma Kuf Gimel. We are at the third line off the top of the Amud, right in the middle of the halacha pertaining to the fellow who bought a field under the name, under the auspices of the head of the community, the Reish Galusa. Okay, and he did it to avoid any possibility of somebody coming and challenging his ownership, so he sort of pretended to purchase the field for the sake of the Reish Galusa, that they are the new owners, although in reality he is the one that's buying the field for himself, but it's just sort of under their name. Let's go back and review the halacha once again, which is like this. So Reuven purchased a field from Shimon under the name, right? He bought it under the name of the Chaveira, his friend, but as we learned before, it means the Reish Galusa, the head of the community, which hopefully would fend off any issues of his ownership on this field. So this way, it dissuades any challengers by having them think that in fact the field is owned by the Reish Galusa. So what happens? Ein koifenes hamecher limkar zimna achriti. So although really rightfully, who's the owner? Reuven, and he doesn't really have a document to attest his ownership. So he goes back to Shimon and says, "Look, my dear friend, you sold me the field. In reality, it was really for me, even though I pretended that it was. So please, could you write me? Could you draft for me another purchase document in my name, so that I can show ownership?" Ein koifenes hamecher limkar zimna achriti. We don't compel the seller to trouble himself and sit down and have to draft another document. Look, one time is enough. And that's the halacha. Says the word pshita. Well, obviously, how could you force him to sit down and write another document? He did it once, and that's it. Maldatema, perhaps matzi amrle. Reuven can, approach Shimon and say, "Look, you know good and well what I had in mind in this deal. Meida yadas, good and well. Da'anolanav shoy shakilna. I was just buying it for myself. Upan chaya, it was just for protection. Upan chaya ba'alma hudekabina. I was just trying to, protect myself, and salvage this field and ensure that I hold on to it for long term. That's why I did this sort of, arrangement and have it allegedly sold under the name of the Reish Galusa, but really it's mine, right? Buzuzi and my money, bichdilo shadini. I wouldn't just toss it away for nothing. Basically, I wasn't throwing out money in the garbage. Ela adata the kasvas lishta rachrina. Of course, what did I have? I planned on asking you to write me another star, a legitimate one with my name in it. Perhaps that's what he can claim, and he can force him to do so. Kamash Malon, no. The point is, the Amar Lei Kashimah can respond. Look, in Yana Avdilach, Bahade Ahud Zavas Lebishmei. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you made a condition with the other fellow whose name is on the document. So that he'll write for you another star. Meaning, I'm not responsible for your shenanigans. You want to write stories in other people's names? Gesundheit. But now it's your trouble. Go find the other fellow, the Reish Galusa, whose name the star is written, whose name is found in the star. Go to him and have him draft another document attesting to the fact that the field really belongs to you. So that's the first halacha. You can't force him to trouble himself to give you another star. But for instance, if initially, when he approached Shimon to purchase the field, he conditioned it. He says, "Look, we're going to do this whole arrangement, but really I want you to write another star, a real one, in my name." So in this case, we force Shimon to write another star in Reuven, the real buyer's name. Well, pshita, obviously, that was the deal. The answer is like this. The chiddush is the Amrul Sahadi Kamei. Really, Reuven never directly stipulated with Shimon to write him another star. Rather, he sort of informed him. He declared Kamei in the presence of Shimon right? He told the Sahadi, he told the Edom in front of Shimon, look, keep in mind, I plan on asking Shimon for another star. But he never actually stipulated directly with Shimon. He told him, he informed him, he announced it in front of him. Perhaps Matzi Amalei, Shimon can respond and say, look, Amina, I was thinking, Shtora, yeah, of course you got another document in your name, but from whom? Who's going to issue it? Well, the other fellow. Maybe you had in mind to get another star from the other person in whose name we wrote the first star. Maybe that's what you had in mind. You never told me to write. Kamashman, the point is no. The Amalei, Reuben can say, Lahachi tarchi, va'amrilu le'edim, kamach. There's a good reason why I spoke to the Edom in front of you. I troubled myself to do it in your presence so that you're aware of it, so that you know that you're bound by this commitment and you must write me another star. I'm going to ask you for the new star. Okay, so bottom line, we have a case where Reuben bought a field from Shimon in the name of the other fellow. He's asking for another document in his name. If he stipulated in advance, fine. Otherwise, he can't force him to do so. Here comes another story. Rav Kahana Yovzuza Akitna. Rav Kahana approached a merchant who was selling kisna, which is flax, linen. So he invested $100 in linen. Also made the Rav. Now, at that point, the flax was not yet delivered to Rav Kahana. But as Tosfos points out, at this point the Gemara figures that he did Meshicha. He was kind of the material. He paid for it, he was kind of it. So it's really his, but it was stored in the merchant's storage facilities. So he never took delivery of the merchandise. It was safe. It turns out ultimately Iyakir Kitna. This material went up in price. It's now worth 200. And the merchant figured, okay, great, I'll do Rav Kahana a big favor, I'll sell it at the high point. Zavne Marvase de Kitna. So now he wants to give Rav Kahana $200 as per the higher sale price. Question: can Rav Kahana receive that money or not? Asal Kamed Rav. So he approached Rav. Amar le Maya Avid. What should I do? Ezel Ishkul Zuzoish, can I take that money back? Which basically means I made $100 on the deal. I invested 100, I'm getting 200. Is that okay or not? Is there an issue of ribis maybe? Right? Amar le Rav says like this. I'll tell you what to do. Go find out how the transaction took place. If when the merchant sold your merchandise to the other customer, Amri, they clarified as follows. Hi Kitna, you should know this merchandise, Tekano, belongs to Rav Kahana. It's really his, we're just his agent. Zilshkos, in that case, you have a full right to take the 200 because he sold it in your name. It was clearly a legal, transaction, took your merchandise, sold it in your name, and now here's your money. So this money was legally earned. But if he had not stipulated that in fact it was your merchandise, he sold it purporting to sell his own stuff. So it was never really known to be your stuff. So then you should not be taking that money. Because as Rashi says, Mishum Ribis. Because you never really earned that money. It wasn't sold in your name. So basically you're giving him 100 and giving back 200. That's Ribis. Asks the Gemara, what's the issue? What's the problem? The fact is, it was my stuff, right? Rav Kahana owned the stuff. And this fellow sold my stuff at a high price. Great. It's my money. Do you mean to say that we're going with the Shita, the interesting opinion expressed by the Bnei Marava yesterday, the Amri, who presented an argument like this? They said, look, if you sold my thing without permission, but they were speaking about a case where I asked him to buy something for me, right? I asked him to buy barley, he purchased wheat. Right, my agent, misdirected my money. So there they had a question. Well, the fellow who sold the grain had no knowledge of the fact that I asked for something else. So basically, if he wasn't really representing me, how does that stuff become mine? what turns the merchandise into mine if it wasn't really as per my instructions? Who informed the merchant to be makne to me, right? That was yesterday's discussion. So in a similar fashion here as well. The Amri, they say, Mi haidia lebal chitin, sheyakne chitin lebal mois, right? Who told the owner of the farmer selling the grain to give the chitin to the owner, to the Baal HaMois, who sent the money? Basically, if the agent wasn't really representing the Baal HaMois, what makes the merchandise his? Nobody was makne to him. So that was yesterday. And likewise over here, who informed the buyers of the kitna that it was meant for Rav Kahana? So basically, the fellow who was storing the stuff for Rav Kahana had no permission really to sell it. So he wasn't really represent. He wasn't Rav Kahana's agent. So when he sort of sold Rav Kahana's stuff, the money never really belonged to Rav Kahana. It wasn't really legitimate. So when he goes and takes this money, the money isn't yet really rightfully his. So basically, at the end of the day, he gave 100, he's giving back 200. That's ribis. You're getting more than you gave. Is that what you mean to say? Is that the issue here? So if they were notified, they knew that it was Rav Kahana's stuff, so they gave the money for him, it's his money. But otherwise, it's not really his money. It's as though he lent money to the merchant and gets back more than he gave. Says the Gemara, well, that's unrelated. That's not an issue in this case. Atu miyoy Rav Kahana arba v'shokla tamni. Since when is there a ribis issue? Did Rav Kahana then give this fellow 4 coins and take back 8? That's not what happened. He purchased something from it's a sale. It wasn't a loan. Kitna, the product which belonged to Rav Kahana on account of his purchase, it went up in value. Great. Amazing. It went up in price. It went up in value on its own. And it was Rav Kahana's merchandise that increased in value. So now when they decided to turn around and sell it for him, basically they're stealing. Migzal gazlua. Okay, so what happens when you steal something? You pay according to current value. Tanan kol gazlan misham kshas gzela. Right? That's how you steal something. And then it goes up in value. Right? And you got rid of it. So you have to pay according to the shasa gzela. Sorry, when you steal something and it's expensive at that point of the gzela, so even if it drops in price later, doesn't matter. You pay according to the time of the theft. So when did they commit their sort of theft? When they sold it, at that point, it was worth very much. So what's the issue? Who cares what was stipulated, what was said? It was Rav Kahana's merchandise. That went up in price, that went up in value, that was sold. So he gets the full earning, the full profit. Answers the Gemara Amri, the response is like this. No. We're mistaken in understanding the circumstance. Rav Kahana was never koine. He never acquired that merchandise. Amri, hasam amona havoy. Amona means it was given in trust, basically. Rav Kahana invested this money. He was trying to buy the kitna, but he didn't have it in stock. So he laid out the money, he gave him $100, expecting a delivery in the future. He didn't do actually a mashicha, he didn't take it into his possession. So he never took possession of the merchandise. So now we understand the story. Rav, who presented this stipulation that the only way Rav Kahana can get back this extra money is if the buyers were notified. Rav Kahana is following his sheet. Rav is following his sheet. Dama Rav. Oisen amana b'peris. This amana system, paying in advance in order to receive delivery of a merchandise as the year progresses, irrespective of its value, meaning you can even get delivery of the payers even if they're worth more now than before. It doesn't matter. You can do that with payers if you're actually going to take delivery of the product, because then it looks like a sale. I can give you $100 now and take delivery later. So even if the item increased in price, in the mean, it doesn't matter. It's mine. But if ultimately you're not going to take delivery of the actual merchandise, such as in our story, Rav Kahana invested $100. And ultimately, what did he get in return? Once again, he got money. He never got his kitna because it was sold. So here it looks like ribbis. It doesn't look like a real sale. It doesn't appear like he purchased anything. It just looks like he handed over 100 and got back 200. That looks like ribbis. So with the Rabban, you shouldn't be doing this because it looks like ribbis. And the only way it's mutter is if when they sold his merchandise, they informed the buyers, and it was sort of publicized. Everybody understood that it was really Rav Kahana's merchandise that was being sold. It no longer looks like a loan which is being repaid, rather like a legitimate, commercial enterprise. Continues the Mishnah. So Reuben steals a pruta from Shimon. And he denies having the money, or he claims that he paid him back. He makes a shvua, and now he's up to doing teshuvah. He has to locate his victim, even if it means traveling all the way to Madai, to Iran, even if the travel expenses will exceed the actual compensation money. He has a chiv to do so. Rashi brings a pasuk which speaks about a fellow who made a false oath, denying, this debt. La'asherhu loy yitnenu b'mashmasa. You have to go follow him personally. Go deliver it to the person, irrespective of expense or effort. Okay. Lo yitin like levnoi l'shluchai. He shouldn't hand it to the son of the victim or the shliach, because as Rashi says, it might never get to him. He has to ensure full delivery. But there's a special takana. He can hand it to an agent of the bezdin. He made a takana to facilitate teshuvah, give it to the shliach bezdin, who will hold on to it for this fellow. Now let's say the victim passes away. He can return the money to his heirs. Continues the Mishnah. So we know that aside from the actual principal, he has to also pay a fifth. Has to add a fifth, which is what happens when he swears falsely on these regarding monetary obligations, and then he's moided and he admits. It triggers a triple process. You have to pay the keren, the chaimish, and a korban asham. So let's say he returned the keren, the actual principal, but he never got around to giving him the chaimish. Or mochalei ala keren. The victim says, you know what, I forgive you the principal. For some reason, he didn't forgive the chaimish. Or mochalei al zev al zeh. He forgave him on both, except chutz mipachis shavar pruta bekeren, except for less than a pruta worth of the keren. In all these situations, since he no longer really owes him a pruta amount of the actual keren, whether it's because he only owes him the chaimish or less than a this halacha of having to follow him and deliver it to him personally doesn't apply. It only applies if the outstanding balance reflects a pruta of the keren. But the other way around, suppose he gave him the chaimish but not the keren, or he gave up the claim on the chaimish but not the keren, or he gave up his claim on both, except chutz mishava pruta bekeren, a pruta worth of the keren. In all these cases, tzorech leilech achar has to follow him to Madai. Continues the Mishnah. Keren. Let's say he returned the principal, the actual amount, but when it came to the chaimish, he denied it, and he made a shvua. I paid you already. And then he turns around and he admits on that. Here's a chiddush. He has to add a fifth to the fifth, because that fifth now turned into a principal. That became the object of his denial. So he adds a fifth on that. Now, it keeps on going. Let's say he decides to turn around and pay him, but he didn't pay the extra fifth, and then he denies that. So that turns into the principal with respect to this sort of new claim. and he has to add a fifth on that. Okay, then he turns around and he pays him the original amount, but not the new fifth. And then he admits, so that becomes the sort of the principal amount on which you add another fifth. It keeps on going. It keeps on going until the principal amount gets so diminished to less than a pruta. At that point, this halacha no longer applies. So this whole story applies to a gazlan, and in fact, it can apply to 5 different types of monetary claims. A gazlan is one, a deposit, right? He was meant to look after a deposit, then he denied its existence, or he claims that he returned it. So the same idea, shenemar, as the pasuk says, which Rashi says is a loan. He denies having the loan. He held back, earnings, wages. And finally, or he allegedly found the lost item which belonged to this fellow, and he denied having it, v'nishbal sheker, and he swore falsely. In all these cases, when he turns around and admits, what happens? It triggers the following process: harizim mishalim, keren, principal, v'chemesh a fifth, v'asham and a carbon. So let's go back to the Mishnah, which spoke about a very interesting, extraordinary obligation, which is to go follow the victim all the way to Madai, irrespective of effort or expense. And the Mishnah clearly relates that to a case where he made a shvuah, as we brought from Rashi. The pasuk speaking a case where he made a shvuah, nishba'in, only because he made a shvuah are all these obligations imposed on him. He has to ensure full personal delivery to his victim. But loy nishba'loy, suppose he never got to the point of making a shvuah. So then he doesn't have this extraordinary obligation. He doesn't have to personally deliver it. He can just sort of hold on to the money, send out a notice to his victim, and just wait until the victim comes and picks it up. Loy nishba'loy loy. Says the Gemara, hold it. Actually, we have a big machlekes between Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Kiva regarding this type of concept. How far does his chiyuv run? And it would seem that money. Who's the Mishnah speaking? Who's the author of our Mishnah? Lo Rabbi Tarfon, lo Rabbi Kiva. It doesn't work with either of these opinions. The Sanya. We have a Mishnah. Gozel echad michamisha. A fellow stole from a person, but he's not sure. It's one of you 5. And now he wants to do teshuvah. Ve'eino yedeya me'ezeh men. He's not sure who he stole from. V'chol echad ve'echad, and every one of them claims to be the victim. So what does this fellow do? He's willing to return the $1 million, but not 5. Maniach gzela b'neim u'mistalik. You know what he does? He puts the money on the table and he walks away. Let them fight over it. I did my share. I expressed my full willingness to repay my victim. That's all I can do. You take care of it. Divrei Rabbi Tarfon. So Rabbi Tarfon holds, that's sufficient. Rabbi Kiva Eimer, no. Lo yizay derech. Moitzi asim de avera. This is not going to, get him out of his wrongdoing until he does full compensation. The only way to address your responsibilities is to actually compensate every potential victim. This way, you have all bases covered. So clearly, according to Rabbi Kiva, the only way to be Yotzei is by actually personally delivering the money to the victim. Okay, back to the Mishnah, which says that likewise, the only way you have fulfilled your repayment obligation is if you travel all the way to the victim and hand deliver it to him, irrespective of expense and effort. And the Gemara at this point figures that the two cases are comparable, two concepts are comparable. You have to ensure full repayment. So money, our Mishnah, who's speaking in our Mishnah? Whose shita is it? Who does it follow? Either Rabbi Tarfon, is it like Rabbi Tarfon? Why would I have to go to Madai to deliver the money? Afagav the Ishtaba. Even though our Mishnah is speaking where he made a false shvua, denying the claim, Amar Maniach Gzela B'nei Mistalek. The more it figures that the story with Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Kiva with the 5 people is also pertaining to a shvua that was made falsely, and still Rabbi Tarfon says you need not do more than just minimal, just put it on the table and walk away. Likewise, you don't have to deliver it to Madai. Just do what you could do, hold on to it and inform the victim. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Kiva, and likewise, if we're following Rabbi Kiva, so even if there was no shvua involved, he still insists that you fully look after the victim. You only yaitz until you actually pay $1 million per victim. And likewise, in our story, in our Mishnah, you would have to personally deliver it to Madai. So it doesn't follow Rabbi Tarfon or Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva, he says the Gemara, you know what? Typically the Mishnahs are like Rabbi Kiva. Let's assume our Mishnah follows Rabbi Kiva. And you're right. When Rabbi Kiva insists that you fully repay all your potential victims, that's only That's only when he swore falsely. Then his liability got triggered a notch higher. Why my time? Why the pasuk says? Then you're really in trouble. And until you ensure full repayment, you haven't really fulfilled your obligation. The one who owns that money, the real victim, he has to return it. That's only because he made a shvur. That's the pasuk. So you're right. Rabbi Kiva is the author of our Mishnah, and just like over there, when you're unsure as to who the victim is, you have to go repay each one to ensure full repayment. Likewise, you have to follow him to Madai. That's only when he made a shvur. Rabbi Tarfon disagrees. Even if he made a false shvur, still Rabbanan want to make it easier for the Baal Tshuva. The son of Rebbe Tzaddik Omer, they made a big takana. If the travel expenses were yisera lakar were greater than the actual repayment amount, Mishalem Karen Mechemish LeBezin. Easy does it. He goes to the local bezin. He deposits the Karen Mechemish, or maybe Ashami and brings his carbon Asham. That's it. Done deal. And he has a kapar and he waits it out until the victim comes and picks up his money. Rabbi Kiva, he responds, no. It's true. I agree that the Rabbanan made a takana in some instances. If you're aware of the identity of your victim and you inform him, so he's going to come pick up his money. Ultimately, the money will go back to its victim, to the owner. So sure, I agree in your case that this system works. You don't necessarily have to go follow him to Madai, right? Just leave it in the Bezdin and you're good. But in the case of the Mishnah, where he's not sure who he victimized, he's not sure the victim is, money will never get back to its rightful owner unless he pays 5 times over. In this case, we don't make a takana. So here we had the first approach, one of 3 approaches of the Gemara, which is that Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Tarfon are arguing about a case where even if he made a shvua, he denied having stolen this money, and we're not sure who the victim is. Rabbi Tarfon says, you know what, just put it on the table, let them fight over it. And it's included in the takana, right? We don't want to make it too difficult for you. Put it on the table, let them fight over it. Or if the guy's far away, just put it into the bezin, you're done. Rabbi Kiva says no. When you make a shvua, you're fully obligated. So if you don't know who the victim is, you have to go pay each fellow, each potential victim, until you've confirmed, you've ensured full repayment. And likewise, if the fellow lives far away, you have to go find him. However, I agree, says Rabbi Kiva, that if you know the identity of the victim, you can follow the new takana, which is go deposit it into the bezin, and that's enough. Masiv Rav Huna bar Yehuda. So working with the premise that in the case of the Chamisha b'nei Adam, we have the machlekes, and we're speaking even when there was a shvua, right? And only because he made a shvua sheker, that triggers a heightened sentence of a heightened level of liability, which according to Rabbi Kiva necessitates, full repayment to every potential victim. Okay? Masr Rav Huna bar Yehuda. Really? We're speaking that they made a shvua? And he made a shvua? Amar Rav Shimon Allah, nechlaku. Rabbi Taf and Rabbi Kiva. There's no discussion between these two Tanaim in the following case. Where he really did nothing wrong. It was just a mix-up. Al shalakach echad. In a case where a person purchased, not stole, he purchased an item. Mechamisha, from one of 5 people. Ashalakach echad mechamisha. He purchased from one of 5 people, right? Ve'eni yedei meizmin lakach. And he can't remember who the merchant was. It's one of you. All agree in this case. Easy does it. There's a simple solution. Shamaniach d'mei mekach b'neim u'mistalek. He puts the money on the table and walks away. Because look, I did nothing wrong. There's confusion. And you guys are being dishonest. Somebody here is right. So therefore I just put it on the table, I walk away. When do we have the machlekes? Meaning, when does Rabbi Kiva insist that he must pay each one separately? Shegazal echad misha b'nei adam, when he stole from one of 5. Oh, and he's not sure who the victim is. Here we have the machlekes. Rabbi Tarf and Aimer, one repayment is enough. Maniach d'mei gzela b'nei mistalik, right? Rabbi Kiva Aimer, no. In the takana, the only way to rectify it is by paying each one separately. So that's a brisa. Clearly, it's only because he did something wrong. But if it was a mixed up purchase, even Rabbi Kiva would agree, there's no need to go the extra mile. Now, according to the way we established the machlekes, we're speaking that he first had this confusion, and then he turned around and made a shvua, a false shvua. I don't owe anybody a penny. So it's really the shvua that triggers this liability. So who cares about the origin of the debt? Why he was owing the money, whether it was because he stole, robbed, or purchased. Doesn't matter. Ultimately, it's the shvua that heightens his liability, that makes him have to pay each one separately. Mali lokach mali gozal. What difference does it make whether he purchased or he stole? Another kash, avoid. Masav Rabbah. You're telling me that he swore falsely? Masav b'chasad echad. It was an episode involving a pious man. Shalakach mishnei bnei adam. Same story. He purchased something from one of 2 guys. But he's not sure who the fellow was. He approaches Rabbi Tarfon. Amalin, he told him, Hanach d'mei mekacha b'neim yistalak. No problem. Easy solution. Take the money, put it on the table, and walk away. But then when he came to Rabbi Kiva, he says, no. Amaloi, the only way you exempt yourself is by paying each one separately. End of story. If you're telling me that this whole concept is only applicable when he swears falsely denying this claim, we're speaking about a chassid, big tzaddik, since when does a chassid make false shvois? Maybe you'll say, what happened was first he was a gangster and he swore falsely, and then he turned into this pious man. So the chassid title reflects his current status, not, says the woman, no, it can't be. You should know, whenever we relate to a story about a chassid echad, it's a very specific person. It's either one of 2 tzaddikim, known tzaddikim, or Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, or Rabbi Yehuda ben Riloi. And we know that these tzaddikim were there from day one. Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, Rabbi Yehuda ben Riloi, chasidim, they were chasidim from day one. So how can you say they swore falsely? Okay. So that takes us to attempt number 2. So previously we said that the Mishnah is Rabbi Kiva, and we worked it out. No. The machlekes, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Kiva, in a case where he stole from one of 5, Rabbi Tarfon says put it on the table. Rabbi Kiva says pay each one separately, is speaking even when there was no shvuah. No, he didn't swear falsely. He's just not sure who he owes the money to. Rabbi Tarfon says, okay, just put it on the table, let them fight over it. Rabbi Kiva says you're obligated to pay each one separately to ensure full repayment. Now the Mishnah which says, well, when you stole money and you swore falsely, then you're obligated to make that personal delivery. That's Rabbi Tarfon. Elul Rabbi Tarfon, u'moed Rabbi Tarfon hechadesh tapa. The Mishnah cannot be going like Rabbi Kiva, because according to him, even without a shvur, you have that first full personal obligation, delivery all the way to Madai. So it doesn't work like Rabbi Kiva. It will work like Rabbi Tarfon, who typically says just put it on the table and walk away, but not if you made a shvur. U'moed Rabbi Tarfon hechadesh tapa. Here, you have a heightened sense of liability. You have to go personally deliver it to Madai. My time of why? Damakra, as we said before from the pasuk, right? Lasher oloi, itnenu b'yem hashmasai. Find the owner and deliver it personally. Rabbi Kiva, Bava Kamma. On the other hand, Rabbi Kiva holds that even without a shvur, we make a knas, we penalize him. Personal delivery only, all the way to Madai. If you're not sure who it was, you have to pay them all back. So the Mishnah, which says that it's only by Yeshua, is Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon responds, oh, I'm sorry. So that's the second shot in the Gemara. Again, Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Kiva's machlekes pertains to a non-shvur situation. Even there, Rabbi Kiva says, find your victim. Rabbi Tarfon says, not necessary. But in the case of the Mishnah, Bayas, he made a shvur. So there, Rabbi Tarfon agrees, you got to go the extra mile. Asks the Gemara kasha, hold it. Now, what was the sequence of events? He stole, he swore falsely, denied the claim, and then evidently he came around. Otherwise, right, there would be no process of kerer and chaimish and asham. Apparently he admitted to the offense. So he's coming to come clean, right? He wants to do teshuvah in Shamayim too, right? Here comes another kash. Rabbi Tarfon, michti. So according to Rabbi Tarfon's approach here, michti, let's analyze it. Heicha de mishtaba. When he made a shvur, lo yisagid lo yhoide. It cannot be that he did not admit, meaning it must have been accompanied by an admission. Ultimately he admitted, right? So forget about the shvur. If he admits, then he's got to go the extra mile to address any possible liability that he has. My area v'nishba. So skip the fact that he made a shvur. Afilu b'li shvur nam, even without a shvur factor, he would have to go repay all his potential victims and deliver it to them personally. The sanya. Moeder Rabbi Tarfon. Ba'omer l'shnayim. Let's say if Rabbi Tarfon agrees in the case where he turns to two people and says, "Look, sorry, gazalti echad mekem mana. I know I robbed one of you people. Ve'eni yadei, I'm not sure eze mekem who it was." Even Rabbi Tarfon agrees, he has to pay them separately. Noisin l'zem mana. L'zem mana. Why shekvar hoydem piatzim? Because he's coming to admit. Rashi says, "U'bala sidei shemayim." So true, the Bezdin can't obligate him more than one repayment, put it on the table and walk away. But Rashi says, "Mio yedei einish ein yotzei." You know, in Shemayim, they'll still hold him accountable until he takes care of it fully. So, if that's the case, so forget about the shvur. If he's not sure who the victim is, he's got to repay them all. If the victim is not around, he's got to follow him. They'll find him in Madai. So why does the Mishnah say it only applies when he made a shvur? Okay, so that's the difficulty that we have with this most recent approach to the Mishnah. Here comes a third approach. Elam Arava. Again, we have this machlekes, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Kiva. Well, the machlekes applies whether or not he made a shvur, it doesn't matter. Rabbi Tarfon says, all you do is put it on the table and walk away. Rabbi Kiva says, the only way you'll really fulfill your heavenly obligations is by addressing every potential victim separately, etc., etc. Okay, so whether or not he made a shvur, we have the same machlekes. Let's go back to our Mishnah. He stole money. Mishnah says, stole money, made a shvur, and then you come around, you admit, you have to go find the victim, go follow him to Iran. Says Rabbi, guess what? The Mishnah follows everybody. It could be Rabbi Kiva speaking, it could be Rabbi Tarfon speaking, because our Mishnah is totally different than that case with the 5 people. Elam Rabbi Shani Masnis. Now our Mishnah is so different. They give him the Yodel Man Gazli. Because look, he's aware of the identity. He knows who the victim is. Well, ideally, he admitted him already, right? So in this case, Kivan de Efshel Adur Mamani Mari, since it's very simple. The money is going back to the owner. I have it for you. I'm holding it for you. I'm not holding it back. Here. So it's as though the victim asked the perpetrator, you know what, hold on to my money for me. Hold on to it for me. I trust you now. So here, there will be no reason for the Ganav to go find the victim. He'll hold on to it until the fellow shows up and he'll give it to him then. So it's only Nishba. It's only when he made a Shvua, which puts him into a totally different situation because he's denying the claim. So even though initially it's as though the money was deposited by the Gazlan in trust, but Kivan the boy Kapara, since he made a Shvua, he denied having the money, so now it increases his liability. He has to do a real kapara to atone for that shvua. He only addresses that obligation if he actually physically delivers it to the victim. But let's say he didn't make a shvua, then he's okay, just hold on to it until the fellow shows up and picks it up. It's like a pekadan. It's like a deposit. Until the victim comes and picks it up. So that's why the Mishnah's halacha only applies by his shvua. Otherwise, it's a fair deal. I'm holding it for him. Okay, so let's just do a quick recap. So we had a Mishnah. He stole money. He made a shvua. And now he's moide. He must pay keren, chaimish, and asham. Mishnah adds, he has to find his victim, even b'madai. Even if it involves great expense, great effort. Now we had another machlekes. Similar situation. He stole money, he's not sure who his victim is. It could be one of you five. Tarfon says, put it on the table, walk away. Kiva says, you're only going to address your obligations if you go and you ensure proper repayment, pay it all over and over again, until you get your victim. Now, who does our Mishnah follow? We have three approaches. Approach number one is, our Mishnah follows Rabbi Kiva. Just as there, he has to pay 5 times over, here as well you have to ensure your victim gets delivery of the money, even in Madai. And we're speaking that he made a shvu, and therefore he has that higher chiyuv. On that, Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. The takana, we downgrade it. We don't hold you accountable to that extent. On to the next approach. Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Kiva are not speaking about a case of a shvu. They're speaking about any type of gazlan. Our Mishnah, which says by shvu, it heightens your obligation. That's Rabbi Tarfon, who agrees by your shvu. The third shot is, there's no connection between the two situations. Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Kiva are speaking whether he made a shvu, whether or not, doesn't matter. He's not sure who the victim is. Rabbi Tarfon says, don't worry, just let go of the money, put it on the table, let them worry about it. Rabbi Kiva says, no, bidei shamayim requires more than that. You have to go find and repay each potential victim. That's over there. But by us, he knows who the victim is. Totally different story. The identity of the victim is known. So if he just stole it and now he's coming and returning, you can hold on to it for him. But if he made a shvuah, that shvuah requires a higher level of kapara. He has to ensure proper delivery, even if it involves immense expense and effort. Okay, that's it for today. All the best to you, and atzlacha rabbah.